Love between humans is just not easy. And without great examples or education about emotions, communication, sex, and what keeps love alive, it's too easy to be disheartened, settle, or give up on what you want most. I believe you can have the love and intimacy you want. And having coached thousands of people on their love lives for over 20 years, I know what love can be for you. So I'm bringing you people who share vulnerably about their dating and relationship struggles and how they learn to create the most connected, fulfilling, and exciting love and sex of their lives, so you can have it too. If you haven't yet taken the quiz to see what keeps you from having the best love and sex of your life, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. You'll get a personalized report of your strengths and challenges in the 5 crucial areas that lead to your most fulfilling and exciting love and sex life. Go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz to find out. Welcome to this episode of Practicing Love. I'm your host, Shana James, and I'm very excited to be here today with my partner, Marc Hopkins. And we are excited to talk a little bit about dating and what we did differently. And as I'm working on my honest dating manual, there are some stories in there, and it's reminding me of what made dating more enjoyable. And I think what had us have more success in dating and actually fall in love with each other for real, as opposed to falling in love with images of each other or fantasies of each other. When we dated, was it different than your other dating experiences?
Absolutely. Part of that was what I brought in was a shift in how I wanted to date and what I was looking for. But that's only half the equation. And I think the biggest difference was how you showed up.
Well, let's start with what were you looking for? What did you change for yourself? And then how did I show up?
Good question. So what I was looking for was I wanted a deeper relationship than I'd had in the past. I hadn't really been able to open up or be authentically myself. What I used to tell people is I thought I had an avoidant attachment style, but what I recognized was I had that because I avoided the hard questions and the hard topics and the things that might be relationship breakers.
Like, for example, you weren't sure if you wanted to commit, but looking back, you see that you didn't ask for what you needed or wanted?
Yeah, I thought I was avoiding commitment, but really what I was avoiding is asking the bigger questions such as, is this what I want? Is this the right person for me? Are they treating me the way I want to be treated? Is the communication and depth there that I want there? And anytime things would arise that might risk the balance, right? Where some of those truths might be exposed that might show they're not the right person or that this isn't going to be deep enough, I would avoid that because of what that meant, right? All the fears of ending things. Yeah.
Right. And I guess in some ways, some could say an avoidant attachment style is I'm going to avoid intimacy, but you're making the distinction that you were avoiding truth or even asking, or like because of the fear of what might be revealed. That kind of avoidance is different. They can come hand in hand, but there's a nuance there.
Yeah, there's absolutely a nuance there between avoiding the commitment and avoiding asking the truths that will determine, is this the right commitment or not?
I remember in the beginning of our relationship, we would joke a lot about our avoidance attachment styles and even really try to freak each other out. Like, do you want to have a baby? Or, I want to get married right now. And because we both knew that we each had some avoidance and we weren't avoiding the avoidance, we were playing with it versus we can't go there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to see like who can. It's almost a game of chicken sometimes. Who can get the other one to back down first, or like if I could just say something and get you that shocked look on your face, or you could get me to just freeze or whatever. And so it made it fun. It made it playful. It made it easy to talk about. And I think that was big and important because when we can talk about it, that gets back to what I was just talking about, right? I couldn't talk about those things because if we talked about some avoidant styles that I have that might turn you off, that might send you running away, I didn't want to do that. So I would just not talk about it.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't ask questions about it. Or if I suspected that in you, that would freak me out because you're avoidant. What are you avoiding? What's wrong with me?
So that was in your past relationships. You didn't ask those questions, but
yeah. But yeah. And so I wanted to make that change.
Right.
And yes, and that was, And so that was a change I made, which worked. And I did really enjoy how we made it fun. And I think that fun and the lightheartedness made it much easier to talk about. And then it wasn't this scary thing. It was something like, okay, this is real and we can talk about it and we can joke about it and we can work through it.
Right. And I'm thinking about the Honest Dating Manual and some of what I recommend to people. And it is this path of discovery or exploration. And I think while each of us had hopes of who we might be together, we also were in a discovery. Who are you going to be to me? And who am I going to be to you? And are we going to date for a short period of time? Are we going to be friends? Are we going to be lovers? Are we going to be partners? And I think so many people try to figure it out so fast.
Yeah. I think for me, I was worrying about wanting to be someone that they would want to commit to. I was trying to be desirable, wanted and seen and all these things. And so as a part of that, I was hiding parts of myself and there was authentic in there. I wasn't like fake the whole time, right? I mean, there was definitely a lot of me there, but there was also a lot of me that was hidden or a lot of me that was only did in little peaks and some of me that was going through the motions or toned down or whatever.
I remember
right?
like, I can't remember how many dates, do you know how many dates in it was where we talked about your humor and I hadn't really heard you make any jokes. And now that's insane to me because you joke every other second. Do you remember how many dates it was where I think we were talking about something about the importance of humor or fun to both of us? And you were like, well, I actually am really funny.
Actually, I remember that a little bit. And yes, it is. I'm holding back the jokes right now on this. I've got to behave. But that's something that's always been a part of me is that playfulness and sometimes to the point of too much, admittedly. But yeah, I remember I had made a joke. It was a little felt risky for me because there's those super safe, whatever, lame, haha jokes. But this was like, I'm going to say more edgy, but it probably wasn't, but it felt more edgy. Yeah. And you laughed and you said, oh, or you said something about, yeah, that was funny. And I think I remember, I said something like, well, there's a lot more of that came from if
you want it.
If you want it.
And I was like, what do you mean if I want it? I just remember being like, well, why? What do you mean? I want all of you. I want to see all of you. And we've had this conversation and I actually have worked with some women on this too, where I started making this distinction between Clark Kent and Superman, because often from the beginning I said to you, wait a minute, you're pretending that you're Clark Kent. I was like, you're Superman. And why doesn't the world know this? Why aren't you showing this to the world? And I think you did say at that point, well, I don't want to offend women, or I want to be safe. I don't want to be that dude or that who makes a woman feel uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, I admire that. And I often work with men who identify as nice guys. And I'm like, okay, we've got to help the world see who you really are. Or, women, if they're in heterosexual relationships, see who you really are instead of you hiding all of that.
Yeah. And I still brought that into the relationship. And I do appreciate you opening that up and really helping me see that. And that's, I think, have been a change or shift that you've seen is like when we first started dating, I felt I needed that permission, right? Like, is it okay to be funny? Is it okay to make these edgier jokes? Am I going to offend you? No. Or I don't know. Right. It's like, so yeah, like I said, I was trying to be safe, again, back to trying to be desirable, right? Trying to be, and also, like I said, not be scary, not be creepy, not be, making some innuendo joke all over the place. And you're just like, who the hell is this guy? So yeah, I was trying to play in this very safe space. And again, hiding a lot of my authenticity and who I really was. And I needed that permission. Then now I don't feel like I do at all. And I enter into work and friendships and, all sorts of relationships in my life otherwise. And with
more of you, I feel like.
With all of me, actually. Yeah. And it's made a big difference in every facet of my life because I am more open and more authentic and still got to have some boundaries. You can't come out crazy, but I can definitely be more authentically myself. And that made a big difference.
You talked about how we dated differently. Are there parts that tied in to that, to you getting to feel freer to be more of yourself?
Absolutely. I think that gets into how you were different. I wanted to be more open, ask the harder questions, go deeper, communicate. I didn't have the words for it at the time, and you helped provide some of those, but to be more authentic and to move more that way in the world. So that was some of the intent that I came in with. Where you made the difference is you opened that up and made it possible. Like you created that safe space so that I could open up. Or when I did, it's hard in the past. A lot of times when I would open up and say something, you don't know what the reaction you're going to get is. And
what were some of the reactions that you got?
Oh, I mean, it was everything from what do you mean? Or
why would you say that?
Here's an example from a past relationship I can think of where I wanted to share one of my shows that I liked, admittedly deep cut, nerdy as heck, but I thought really good quality. I thought, and might be something she could enjoy, or even if she didn't, could be something we could share. It hadn't even been on 5 minutes. I mean, I think we were 2-3 minutes in, and she goes, "This is dumb, turn it off." And so it was kind of like, oh, okay.
Right. So, what do you do with that? Like, there's no room for collaboration or win-win, or there's no consciousness in that communication.
No, none. And I think it was actually a big-ish moment for me. And I did pause and then back and said, okay, hey, that was kind of harsh. You didn't like it. You didn't want to watch it. You're not in the mood for it. You really wanted to watch something else.
Say any of those things.
Yes, but that's dumb and stupid. That just called me and everything I like dumb and stupid and all those things too. And so we had a good conversation there, and she didn't ever do that again. But I honestly never brought anything I thought that was in that geeky space. Right, that was all. Now that door's closed.
Right, right. That has me think about the impact we have on each other. Right, and what I want for people is to start dating and to create deep relationships from a place of collaboration and win-win, and really listening to each other and understanding each other, so that you never have to have those kinds of conversations. And I really literally mean that. Like, they never have to happen, even though some people think, well, that's normal. And yeah, it's okay to fight. It's okay to have conflict, but you can do it fair or conscious. And we do start to protect ourselves if someone isn't open. And there's an example that I gave in Honest Sex where one partner wants to do something sexually and the other person says, well, that's just not me, right? It's very similar. Like, I'm going to shut that down. And it's judgmental too, versus, oh, I feel scared, or I feel uncomfortable, or I'm worried about X. There's so many ways to get to know each other instead of shutting each other down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I own my part on that too. Never brought anything up again, right? And that's on me. She reacted after we talked it through fairly well and saw what she did, apologized, didn't do anything like that mostly again. But it was also, again, it then was on me to bring more things, have more open conversations, more curiosity. And like you said, where it's like, okay, this may not be her thing, but let's talk about what about it didn't you like? What did you like? Because maybe there's other deep cut geeky things I got that you would love, right? And that we could share together. So, and that's some of what, again, I also was trying to bring different into the dating with you. And kind of back to that is the fact that if, we could have some of those conversations.
Honest conversations.
And I didn't feel shut down. Mm-hmm. I felt, you were phenomenal at being curious. Like, okay, like I said, like, I may, any of the number of things I brought up, if was ever anything that you weren't certain of or uncomfortable with, you would always respond with, okay, tell me more, or let's talk about this, or what does that mean to you, or what do you need there, or whatever, which actually helped me think through a lot of that stuff too, feel safer talking through it. And sometimes it was just a misunderstanding too. Sometimes you thought I meant A and I meant B. And it's like, but we could have that conversation instead of having it all shut down.
Yeah. I definitely have a strong value around responding rather than reacting. And I've talked about this before, where after my divorce, I started playing the shut the fuck up game, where someone says something that scares me or I feel triggered. I go to zip it. I'm going to pause. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take a moment, and not until I can get to either some kind of curiosity or something that I think would create more connection do I speak, or I speak to say, I need a minute, or I need to digest that or something. And one of my friends has said, well, you're just less fiery than me. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I'm like, that's not what my ex-husband would have said. He would have been like, oh, really? Because I was more fiery. And I do think, though, that slowing it down and really getting curious about each other, we've learned so much about each other. And I feel so safe with you now that we have learned all these things, as opposed to I need to hide parts of myself, or you won't love me if I show certain parts. In the honest sex framework, it's like, how do we share the more vulnerable things versus that surface monkey mind that is there first?
Yeah. And I had this vision as you were talking about being fiery, if I may share this, where I can see there's two things. Like one is like throwing fuel on the fire. So it's this big fiery. And then there's like feeding the fire and tending the fire. So it's more of a warm, comforting thing. So they're still fiery. They're still in there because I can attest you've got some fire. But again, it's how do you feed the fire? How do you direct and use the fire? I can see the potential for you to have been the other kinds of fiery in your past, and then what you bring today, which is still fire, but it's warm, comforting, welcoming fire where we can sit around and talk as opposed to run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then another quick reflection too is I had the benefit of when we first started dating, your book had just come out. And
you so amazingly read the whole thing, I think before our fourth date or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Our first date you're talking about, I think it just was releasing the next day or something like that. I loved it and I learned a lot from it. And I was able to bring that. I think a lot of what was in there was what I had wanted and been looking for to bring to dating and relationship. And if I hadn't have had that, I think I would have been a little less well equipped. So thank you for bringing that and putting that in there.
Yeah, just go write a book and give it to the person you're dating. Well, I was just thinking one of the tools that I teach people is a user manual to help people understand, like, oh, this, when I'm upset, this really works for me. Or when I seem like I'm disappointed, this is how I like to talk things through. So in a way, I handed you a user manual of the kind of relationship that I like to have. And to your credit, you dove in and you've been a practice partner ever since.
Thank you. And I want to say, yeah, there was a lot of vulnerability in there, which I appreciated, and definitely got a little bit of a Shayna user manual. But also they're just life skills in there, and dating skills and relationship skills and things. I think I dove in there partly, here's this person I'm excited about, I want to learn more, but also partly this is what I was looking for. And I really wish I could have that dating manual, the honest dating back then, because that was the kinds of things I was looking for and wanted, because I wanted to find a way to do things different, where I wasn't just this constant pick me rejection cycle, where I could come in authentically and be okay if I didn't or they didn't. Right. And I just want to thank you for bringing those tools.
Thank you. One of my commitments this time around when we first started dating was that I was dating in a different way. I made a commitment to myself that I was kind of pulling on my big girl panties and I was looking for partnership qualities. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't looking as much for, is this an instant spark? And our spark happened a little bit slower, but I'm so amazed by how the spark has turned into flames. And I think what I'm seeing is that people give up really easily these days. And I'm not saying you should go on many dates with someone you don't have value alignment with, or you really don't see a future with. But I think with you, I saw how much I admired the way you talked about your kids, the way you talked about running and your dedication and endurance. There were many things I saw that made you a potentially amazing partner.
I had some good questions for you too around your book and your life and what's going on as well. I was very curious, I think.
Yeah. And I remember one of the conversations we had that felt like a little bit of a make it or break it for me was around you talking more and me feeling like he's really chatty. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to go to the depth that I want to go to.
Was that on our first date?
I think it was more like on our third or fourth date, mm-hmm. where I was feeling into, I think he's an amazing person, but is it going to be, deep? Yeah. And I remember bringing that to you and saying, and I put this in the manual. I remember bringing it to you and I said something like, I love your stories and I love hearing from you. And I'm a little bit worried that we're not going to go as deep as I want, or I know that's something I want. And I remember asking you, like, do you want that too? And one of the things I remember that you said was, oh yeah, I'm aware of this. Sometimes I talk a lot and I don't always make space for other people. And it's something I really want to work on. And you opted in. And then only time would tell, like, okay, is this going to happen? But I remember being so impressed by the way you were open to me saying that. I think I brought it in as kind of a way as I could and an invitation instead of there's something wrong with you. Because where I come from is there's nothing wrong with either person. It may not be a match. We may not want the same things, but that doesn't make either one of us wrong.
No.
And I was so impressed. I was so impressed with how you were willing, like it showed me so much of your character and your personality that you were willing to say, oh yeah, okay, that is something I want. So therefore I want to show up with this and I want to practice this. And Practicing Love, the name of the podcast. Do you remember that?
Thank you. I remember it, I think, slightly
I want to hear your
differently,
version.
of course. And actually I'd kind of forgotten about it. And then as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. It was a little hard. But I had been doing and a lot of personal work. And it's one thing that I did recognize, partially because of my upbringing. Sometimes there wasn't a lot of space to talk. So when I found space, you had to grab it, right? While it's there before it's gone. Yeah. And then sometimes there was space and there was just some of my anxiety and some of those things just felt I had to fill it. I just babble to fill the space. And so I appreciated, actually, it was hard to hear. And it clearly, I even blocked a little of it, but I appreciated the honesty. I appreciated the openness. I appreciated you. And you did this several times. Just ask for, hey, this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And I think that was one of the first times you did that. And you've done it since. And there was some of the work to not take it personal. And really kind of step into it. And I think as I talked less and you talked more and you helped with that curiosity. So kind of some freedom to be curious and dig deeper. And then, also recognize that those additional depths. And again, just stopping and listening.
Well, I think that one of the pieces I talk about with my clients is that conversations are made up of content and connection. And if we're in the realm of content, it can be fun and engaging and exciting. But personally, I feel sometimes the intimacy isn't there. And I think that was part of what was happening. And so then that we could self-reflect on it together, even when it's hard, the things that you've brought to me that I've been like, oh, okay, right. It's like, how do I take this in without going into my defenses? Because most of us don't really want to defend, or in that moment, we might want to defend. Because it hurts, because it's vulnerable, but actually we do want to be closer. We want intimacy. So yeah, it's so interesting to think about how are we responding and also how are we inviting? Because I remember it wasn't a demand, but someone could have taken it that way. It was like, I know I need this. And if you don't want this or need this or can't do this, that might be a deal breaker. But we also just brought a lot of care and compassion and kindness to each other.
Yeah. I like the word invitation that you're using there. And I think that's very accurate for a lot of what you brought and then helped me learn to bring is more invitations and curiosities or again, here's what's going on. And maybe even I don't even know what to do with it, but here's what I'm feeling or here's what I want or what I need. And that made a big difference, I think, in that instance there, because I'd done some work. So the auto screw you kind of thing didn't come out.
Even if you felt it.
I don't know if I felt it, but again, there was that instinctual, well, it's a bunch of stuff like either screw you or that I'm wrong. I'm not worthy.
Right. One end or the other.
and oscillating between both. Right. And I think it is like, because I feel the unworthy, then I want to go on the attack or, whatever. So it's kind of that taking a breath and then hearing the invitation and then kind of stepping into it. And it is a practice. It's not easy. We still do some of that now. I think we're much better at it, but it's a journey.
Yeah. I'm grateful for both of us, the way I think we step up when one of us has a request or a need. At the beginning of this year, we looked at what would have us each feel more loved. And the fact that our response to those things was, oh, let me try, let me figure out how to do this. It's not like we're doing it perfectly, either one of us, but we really value when the other one wants something or needs something or likes something or prefers something, right? We really seem to try.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And again, I think that goes to that first reaction, because as soon as you tell me what I can do to make you feel more loved, it's easy for me to feel I've been missing, I've been wrong, I should have, could have, would have. There's somebody better who would have done it better and all those things. And am I good enough and worthy? Instead of going into that, it's like you got to kind of push that aside and then hear and listen. And then it's just like, okay, how can I do that? And how can I step up and into it? And so I think that, again, it kind of gets back to that, get through that initial reaction, and then open to it and hear. And it's not like we both just said, hey, this is what I need. This is what I need. Good. Going to do it. Done. Right. We're still working on it. We just actually had a revisit on that recently. And I could say, okay, yeah, I can admit, I think this year you're doing a little bit better in meeting mine than I am in meeting yours at the moment, which was a good reminder and not I'm wrong. It's just okay, yes, I need to work on some of these things some more and refocus
and even
on
now
that.
Talking about it, I'm like, oh, right, I can do better. And, I can, right. It's these reminders, and that we can remind each other without lashing out at each other or collapsing, like you said. And I think both of us tend toward the inner collapse and making ourselves wrong. But like you said, I think in the past for me, that used to then come out as so much intensity or fire or emotion.
Yeah. And I think that the important thing to note is that it is a two-sided thing, right? I kind of knew what I wanted in relationships to be different, even if I didn't have an awesome manual or all these other things to put words to it, which, you helped do. But I had that sense. And then you, with your experience and background, you had a much better intention and idea of that. We both had to bring that. And I think, again, that's part of that initial dating phase is I wasn't looking for that before. I knew I wanted someone who, again, could be open and more deep, and I could have these difficult conversations with, that I could work through these things with. And so I brought that, and I was tracking for that. And I think it sounds like you probably were too. And so again, I think the idea that it takes two, and if you're the only one doing it, you're not wrong, instead of going like, this is what I want.
Value this and I want this. And actually, I'm going to stand up for it. I don't have to be an asshole about it. I can open-hearted stand up for it and say, hey, there's something that I really need, or this would make my life, feel more meaningful, or our relationship feel more meaningful.
Yeah. And if it's not.
Yeah. Or some kind of request, like, can we explore this together? Or is it something you really don't want? And
if not, then that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. We can part ways or find someone else. But I think there is the misery of dating, that desperation of like, God, I don't want to go on another date. I don't want to deal with more people. I just want to find somebody and be happy. I hated dating, didn't like it. And then I tried to find some ways, and I got better at it and ways to enjoy it. And I think I was closer there when we were dating. Get out of that rush to the finish, or got to find this person and then be done with this, and step more into, hey, I'm good where I am. And if I find this, I can be better.
Yes. Right. So. I love that. I'm good where I am. I do teach that as a foundation, which is create a life you love. Don't be looking for someone to fill that hole, which no pun intended, because when you're trying to have someone create the life you want and you don't have it without them, it's just a recipe for disaster, because then you're depending on them. And now we get to actually co-create something together versus hoping or depending on the other for it.
Absolutely.
Well, this was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
I want to convey hope. Both of us had spent many, many years dating and not finding the partner that we had hoped would come into our lives. And the fact that we met online, we met on Bumble.
Which I never thought would work.
And the fact that it didn't start out as something where immediately just knew, and that it took some time to get to know each other and to really check each other out, I think is really special. And I will say our communication on the app was actually really meaningful to me. And I hear many people talking about just getting one-word answers. We were having deep conversations already. over the app. And I want to also convey to people, be willing to ask good questions and reveal some things about yourself. It doesn't have to be the most vulnerable, but get into it a little bit so that you can get to know someone and feel them out so that you know if it's worth your time to go spend time with someone. And that was very clear to me that when we were texting or messaging, that you were worth my time.
Thank you. And that's not always easy because I worry about saying too much because you give an answer, which I thought was sincere and heartfelt and deep. And then they're like, why'd you just write a book? And I'm like, okay, that's not working for you. So for me, I think I knew early on it was a no.
If somebody said that.
Yeah. I wanted that communication too early. If we can communicate here, then it's a sign that we can take the next step, right? If my answers are too long or too short or too whatever, then this is probably an early indicator instead of, again, trying to make it work. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you.
So many people are wondering whether love can happen for them. And so many people are frustrated and feeling defeated. And I know that it's possible. And I know that there are great people out there. And I know love is possible. And I want to help people believe that again.
And it is. There's hope out there. We did it.
We did it.
And others can too. And I wasn't certain we would.
Yeah.
Or I would anyway.
Thank you. I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Practicing Love. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and gained insight into yourself and your current and past relationships and inspiration for what's possible. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review to help people find us. If you'd like more support in your love life, be sure to get your free copy of my best-selling book, Honest Sex, at shanajamescoaching.com/free. That's shanajamescoaching.com/free. And we'll see you next time.